Hey everybody, welcome back to Champion Sons and our Let's Play Planet Zoo series where we have got a tour of the Africa section, our first completed section of the zoo. Now you will see the mass exodus happening. That's mainly because the park got filled with, I think, close to like 4,000 people. Yeah, if you look at the bottom left, the little peaceful counter right there, 4,000 people. Came pouring in here. So, I decided let's limit it to only 2,000. And when I did that, I wasn't even thinking, but everybody was going to have to leave. At least half the people were. And so they are leaving in the appropriate, I guess you could say, order. I mean, it's not chaotic. So they are getting stuck on the pathway to the little peep creator thing, but it is what it is. So, let's go ahead and walk on in here, and don't mind the camera work. It's just a little crazy at times. Anybody that's played this game or Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster, you kind of know sometimes it gets a little tricky with all that stuff. So here was one of the first habitats, actually the second one I believe that we put in, our little flamingo center. And I think it turned out pretty good. I like the way it does look. It's got some good little viewing sections for you, nice little water paddock, or puddle basically. And it draws a pretty good amount of people, and then I think it's a pretty calm thing to see when you first walk in. Then we come over here to our other little creatures over here. These little, what are these things? I can't read that language. I think they're they're not the penguin, like anteater things. So, we didn't get them in. That was actually the first habitat that we did build, right? And look at all these people leaving. I mean, most of that pathway is connected, but for the most part, everybody else is leaving. Now, it's not just really, it's kind of meant to be an education center in terms of if you look at all the boards that we have up, where we are going to be putting those in for the animals that we do have in the zoo. And I do need to make some updates to them. I'll give you that, and I'm just noticing that now. But overall, I think it'll end up serving a pretty good purpose. It's primarily used as a food court to get people in and out, get them something to eat, something to drink. And then you can also learn about the animals once I get all the boards up and going with everything that we have in the parks so far. So I do like how that entrance turned out. It does get bottlenecked right here, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure the pathing priority that they put in this game, because there's a lot of unused pathing as you see all these people leaving. Oh man, that's kind of ridiculous. But it is what it is, and I promise y'all it will get better. Now here we are looking at one of the alligators that we put in. These are the little miniature fellas that we put in here. This is one of the last habitats we built. I was trying to think of what to do with this space between the entrance leading into the Africa section, and I figured a couple crocodile or alligator habitats would actually look pretty good for it. And I think they do. They turned out pretty well. It's not something that's too far out of the ordinary, so it kind of does work. Now, we are going to officially head into the Africa section, labeled as Wild Africa. We do see a lot of overgrown grass there. I think it just works well to kind of give a little foresty, bushy kind of look to the area. Now, the first habitat for the Africa section was the elephants. And I do love how this one turned out. I think they obviously could use a little bit more space. Like, that's something that keeps popping up. They need more space. But overall, it looks really good. And you get that, like, eye-level view of them. So you can really see the size of those things, of those elephants, as you are walking around looking at them, seeing the different habitats and all that stuff. Now, waterfall, I really enjoyed making. I think it comes off pretty decent as a nice little decorative item. So it does look pretty good, and it functions pretty well. Now, next to the elephants, we have our giraffe habitat that we did put in. This one for the area was probably the first one I really focused on doing some form of theming work with it. mainly if you can tell based by the shaders that we have going on top. You'll see those things kind of folded throughout the rest of this section of the zoo. So I really love how this one turned out. There's a lot of them, so we are going to have to work on getting rid of them and all that. But overall, this is another one that lets you see the true size of these animals. And that's really what I wanted to portray. So you can look at them, you can see these things, and you can see the true size of them. And the power that these animals possess. You know, a giraffe could kill a lion if it kicked it and nailed it solid. So just thinking about little things like that. The buffalo, I will say, proportional size does seem a little smaller, right? I mean, there's a couple. That one that went running past there in the background does look like a pretty good sized bull, you know. But overall, I think those animals are a lot bigger in real life and proportional than what they have in the game. So it's just something that's kind of interesting to see how they do the proportions with things like the elephants and the giraffes. But then you come over here to these massive buffalo, and you see the zookeeper doesn't even really look all that much smaller to him, right? So that's kind of an interesting thing to notice there. As we get through this top section, this was really the first part of the Africa section that we had built into the zoo. And I think it really kind of set everything off going with some of those larger herbivore, I guess, larger plant-eating animals. It does lead into us. We are going to have the predators coming up. I think everybody knows that. Speaking of predators, there is one of our, I want to say that's the saltwater one, saltwater crocodile right there, big bad boy, walking up onto that platform. He's a pretty massive animal. This is another one of those that I think worked out pretty well for what we were trying to do as far as just filling in that space right there. It wouldn't be too much to kind of dig some of that out. The water to maintain that would be probably pretty expensive in real life, but not too big of a deal overall. Now the bridge, we will check out the top view of it, but going under, it turned out pretty well with that little rock wall kind of section, siding right there, and I think it flows pretty decent. Now we have our gorilla indoor one. We're going to go ahead and take a quick little seat down at the educational center. They do give talks, and these seats do fill up pretty decently. I think I need to figure out some stuff, a little bit more to put on the walls here. It does come off a little plain as I'm looking at it right now, but you know, that's one of those things we can fix at a later time, and we can actually do whenever we have the full zoo tour. Going and show kind of the updates to that. But overall, it's a pretty good viewing section. It's indoors. It allows you to see them playing. There's plenty of space for them to play, sleep. You can see the babies, the big silverbacks, all of that. So it works out incredibly well. Now the planting was really the most tedious part of this section and filling in a lot of that space, and I think it's going to be going forward. This is Austin Zoo and Gardens. So while we do have these lions over here, you got to have kind of the little garden section that goes around it. And they have cold concrete or grass. And the lions are choosing to sleep on the cold concrete. Okay. And then over here we have our little indoor cheetah section, although they spend most of their time outdoors and not really on the inside shaded area sleeping. So that kind of is what it is. And there is a piece of glass there. I did that just to verify. It continues to look like there's not. But hey, it is what it is at this point. So this one was the cheetah habitat. I gave them a crap ton of space. So one, these are predators. You don't want them getting in too much of a hassle with each other. But these especially need a lot of space to run. And that's why they got a habitat that's so large. And the same thing with the lions as well. They do operate in a pride, obviously, but they need space to be able to move around. And so that's what one of the main focuses was on building these two habitats specifically. Give these animals the space they need. And the way we did this, I didn't want to have all these cage views in front. I do love the eye level, being able to look at them. Now, once again, I got to say, Planet Zoo probably could work better on the animal proportions to people, but I think they still look really good in the game. Now we're going to take a look at the education center right here, and that turned out extremely well, a lot better than what I thought it was going to turn out. And getting this put in for each one of these, the lion and the cheetah habitat, I do think they turned out just about as well as I could have hoped in that sense. And we have a little food court there off to the left in between that, and she is giving her educational talk to nobody right now. Guess people don't care to learn about cheetahs. That's weird. I would have been sitting there the whole dang time trying to listen to these things, but hey, it is what it is, and I can't understand what she'd be saying anyways. So I probably could also in this zoo see myself walking on just a little bit. Now those are those educational. So there's our little sunshades coming back around through them. There's some kids playing with those things. I haven't seen that ever happen yet until now. That's kind of funny though. That's an interesting one to look at. So let's go ahead and head on back through. Remember, this is just a tour. It's of the one and only section. So this video is going to be a little bit shorter. Well, it's going to be one of the shorter videos of this versus all the build videos. Now, the Primate Cafe, that was a big cat sanctuary. Then we carry that sign motif over to the Primate Cafe. That's labeled as such just because it's between the gorilla and the chimpanzee habitats and the viewing areas. But once again, this thing, I really enjoy how it turned out, especially with the flooring that we put in. The availability for the little bushes right there and those fences that do go around in the shaded seating. This, I think, is one of the better little cafe sections I've built in either game, whether it be Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster. And so I got to kind of commend myself on that one, pat myself on the back if I will. Now the final habitat. We're going to take a look at the chimpanzees here in a second. But the final habitat we built, these little horned antelope things and the zebras. This is one of my favorite just because of how good it looks. At least I think it does. And it came out excellent, especially with this little viewing section and that fencing right there. Now we're going to move on to the chimp view. And while we take a stop off here in the chimp view, I do just want to remind y'all to hit the subscribe button if you have not hit it already. And if you do like Planet Zoo and you like today's video, go ahead and give us a thumbs up, as it does help out the channel greatly. And I am forever grateful for all the help and support that y'all have shown our channel as of recent times. So thank y'all very much for that. Now that we have gotten through these last couple habitats there, we are going to go and see some more cinematic views of these habitats and stuff before we kind of sign off. This was a quick little viewing of the Africa section. That's what we had for it. And you're going to kind of see an aerial view ship of it, but most of the room is taken up by the habitats. That's what I figured would have been what we would do with the zoo in real life anyways, is let the habitats take up the space and kind of speak for the zoo itself. So let's get ready to jump into some of those cinematic views as we look at this final little aerial shot of our zoo. I do just want to thank y'all for joining me in this quick little tour section. And I can't wait to show it off to y'all in the next sections going forward as we get ready to build those as we go. So let's jump into those cinematic views, everybody. I will leave y'all off with these, and I will see y'all in the next episode, everybody, where we get started with our brand new section. So thank y'all for joining, and I will see y'all later.